Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So, I moved. That's why the background looks a little different and that's why I didn't post a video last week. I moved from Pennsylvania to Florida, all the way down the East Coast. So I'm probably going to have several different backgrounds in my next couple of videos where I try to find the best place for me to film in this new house. Currently, I'm in my bedroom, but it is very dark in here because we have not installed a ceiling light yet. So I'm sitting on the floor near the window trying to get some natural light in here because I only have one lamp in this room right now. So the next couple of videos, I'm going to be moving all over the house until I find a spot that I like. And you know, it's really been going great here in the new house. We had the worst movers known to man. I have sunburn on my shoulders. My cats tried to kill a gecko. And I've had You Need to Calm Down by Taylor Swift stuck in my head for 2 days. It's going swell. But to get back to the subject of this video, we are about halfway through the year, believe it or not. So I thought I would inform you guys of how I'm doing on my 2019 reading challenge. How many pages have I read this year? How many books have I read? What are the best and worst books that I've read so far this year? And what are my reading goals in the second half of 2019? So this year, my goal was to read 32 books because last year in 2018, I read 31. So I wanted to beat that record this year by at least one book. I have currently read 15, which according to Goodreads has me one book ahead of schedule. Those 15 books have totaled in 7,382 pages, and so far this year, my average rating has been 3.6 stars approximately. I gave some halves in my ratings. I think I may do a video soon explaining how I rate books, if that's something that would help you guys, and explain more what I mean when I say something is 3 stars or 3.5 or 4. The first book that I completed in 2019 was Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin, which is a companion novel to his A Song of Ice and Fire series. And the last book that I completed at the time of filming this video was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which I can't say much about in this video because it's gonna be in my June wrap-up. Surprisingly, the longest book that I've read so far this year was actually not an A Song of Ice and Fire book. It was Bleak House by Charles Dickens, which according to Goodreads clocks in at 992 pages, so it is quite a chunker. Meanwhile, the shortest book that I've read so far this year was a reread for me, actually. It was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which according to Goodreads clocks in at 180 pages. I think overwhelmingly my most read genre so far this year is classics, which is not a surprise because I'm currently enrolled in college. I'm an English major, and then I also read The Great Gatsby and Rebecca in my free time outside of class. In the second half of this year, I definitely want to read more mysteries and thrillers because that is my absolute favorite genre, and I haven't read a lot of them so far this year. So I definitely want to get back into thrillers. So to get into my favorites and least favorites so far this year, excluding The Great Gatsby, which like I said was a reread, I have given one book 5 stars so far this year. And that book, which is definitely going to be one of my favorites of the entire year, was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. In this book, a reporter named Monique is surprised when she is requested to write the biography of aging 1960s movie star Evelyn Hugo. Monique doesn't know why she is being asked to write this book because she's not a famous reporter. And so the story is told partially in the present day about Monique and Evelyn, and also partially via flashback where Evelyn is relaying to Monique the story of her life and career, and especially her infamous 7 marriages. So who was the real love of Evelyn Hugo's life? That is something you have to read the book to find out. I thought this book was absolutely delightful. I know it is so beloved on BookTube, and I think for good reason, because it is superbly written. It is such an interesting story, and I think my favorite thing about this book was Evelyn Hugo herself as a character. She was so interesting and complex, with strengths and flaws and a very defined voice. And when I was reading this book, at times I would forget that Evelyn Hugo wasn't a real person, because reading the book made me want to go watch her old movies, which obviously I can't do because she's a fictional character, but she feels so amazingly real. So, if you're one of the few people on BookTube who has not read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo yet, I would recommend it highly, 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 because it is absolutely amazing, and it is the only 5-star read I've had so far in 2019. I have also given several books 4.5 stars so far this year, which basically means that they were books that I really, really enjoyed. However, I did have a couple quibbles with it, which is why I didn't feel like it was a 5-star read, but I wanted to give them that extra half star because I thought they were almost perfect, or at the very least, I really enjoyed them. And those were Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, A Feast for Crows by George R.R. Martin, and another third book, which is going to be in my June wrap-up, so I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. It's a surprise. Then, to move on to my least favorites, there was one book that was a clear disappointment for me this year. I originally gave it 1 star, but I think I changed it to 1.5 stars because I do feel really bad rating books 1 stars. I know that the author probably put a lot of hard work and effort into it, and I don't want to tell them their book is complete and utter crap, but this book really did nothing for me, and it was a huge disappointment. That was The Constant Princess by Philippa Gregory. I have really enjoyed the miniseries and movies that have been adapted from Philippa Gregory's books, like The White Queen, The White Princess, The Other Boleyn Girl. So I thought, since this was the next one to be adapted, I should read it. The Constant Princess is about a young Catherine of Aragon, the Princess of Spain, who goes to England to marry Arthur, Prince of Wales. However, she is left in limbo when her husband dies, and Catherine decides that she needs to make some political maneuvers if she wants to fulfill her destiny to be Queen of England. Now, I have to say, this was my first Philippa Gregory book, and I thought the writing was just not good. The writing style of this book was very strange because on one hand we had a third-person narration, but then also sometimes we would get Catherine's first-person inner monologue, and it came across as very repetitive because she was frequently just repeating the same thoughts that the third-person narrator had just given us, so I didn't really like that. I felt like it should have been one or the other. I also just did not like some of the historical liberties that Philippa Gregory took with this book. There were some plot lines she added that had no basis in fact, which I found very distasteful and just really hard to read. In the wrap-up where I talked about this book, I read an excerpt from the beginning of The Constant Princess, which really showed how disgusting I thought some of this book was. And the worst part is I watched the first episode of The Spanish Princess, which is the Starz miniseries that was based off this book. And I didn't even think the miniseries was good. I could only watch that first episode because it was just so awful that I didn't want to keep going. I don't know where they were going with it. It just was not good because every single character was so weird, was acting so bizarre that I was just sitting there wondering, what is the character motivation? Like, why are they doing this? If you want to tell a story, even if I don't like the characters' actions, I need to understand them. And that first episode, it was so disjointed and weird, and things felt like they were happening for no reason. There was no logic to any of it, and I could not stomach it to even get to the second episode. So this was all a massive disappointment. So that pretty much sums up what I've read so far this year, so let's talk really quickly about my reading goals for the second half of the year. Like I said, I definitely want to start reading more thrillers again because that is my favorite genre and I really enjoy a good mystery or thriller, so that is something I want to make more time for. I also think I want to continue on with the Harry Potter series because If you guys are new to my channel and don't know, I never read the Harry Potter series as a kid, so I am reading it for the first time now as a young adult. I have read the first 3, so I'm hoping to get to Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire before the end of 2019. I just haven't been in the mood for it recently, and I don't want to force myself to read it if I am not feeling it, so hopefully at some point before the end of the year I will feel inspired to pick that book up. I think I might also like to pick up A Dance with Dragons by George R.R. Martin, which is the last book I need to get caught up in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. I have my fingers crossed that The Winds of Winter comes out in 2020. But maybe that's wishful thinking. I'm not going to get my hopes up, though I would really like it if that book would finally come out and I could get to read it in 2020. That would be amazing. I also am wondering if maybe I should reread the Hunger Games trilogy, because after how disappointing the series finale of Game of Thrones was, I've been thinking about how much I love the ending of the Hunger Games series. And today, it was announced that Suzanne Collins is writing a prequel to the Hunger Games, which is coming out in May 2020. So maybe the universe is telling me to reread the Hunger Games. I might have to make time for it. So guys, that is it for me today. Let me know, how are you progressing with your 2019 reading goals? What books have you loved so far this year, and what books do you want to get to before the end of the year? If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like or subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, and I hope to see you in the next video.